Hello, welcome to Robo Dojo anywhere, anytime. I'm your librarian, Dan Lo. Alright, let's open Choregraphe. First thing, I'm going to show you how to import a .crg file into Choregraphe. We're going to use the .crg file we created in last tutorial. So I'll go to File menu, Import Project from CRG file. And I've downloaded and saved the file on my desktop called Robo Dojo episode 3.crg. Let's say open. Here I'll select a different location. For the opened project, it's going to save in a different directory. That looks good to me, so I say OK. And maybe project name, I'll change it a little bit because I probably already have Robo Dojo episode 3 in my project folder. So I'll click OK. Alright, so here's what we've left off since the last time. Like I said last time, this application works, but it's pretty dumb because we all know the answer is right here. You say 5 and the robot will say, "Well, you read my mind." So today we're going to change that. Now, if you think about the logic, the flow, the robot should have thought a number at the very beginning of the application once it sets language or, at the same time when it's setting the language. So how do we do that? Let's go to the box libraries panel. Again, if you're not seeing the box libraries showing up, make sure go to the View drop-down menu and there's a check mark right in front of the box libraries. Then I'll click on the last tab in the box libraries view. It's search, and I'll search for random. So you will see a random int box coming up. Basically means random integer. So what does this box do? It's going to generate a random integer between the minimum and maximum number you set up. So I'm going to drag that in. And of course, when the robot first starts, after it sets the language, it should first go to generate the random number. Now we click the range button on the lower left corner of the random integer box. Here you can see the minimum value is set to 0. Like I said, in Python, all the indexes and ranges by default usually starts with 0. Now in our case, the robot says he has a number between 1 and 10, so we will just start from 1 and then click OK. Alright, once this random number is generated, we will go to the next step. Now next, once the robot understands your choice, so we have to compare whatever the robot heard with the random integer we generated here. So that means we have to remove the switch case box, right click on it, delete selection. So that'll delete it. And here we are going to create our own Python box in Choregraphe. The basic function of the box is it's going to compare the random integer generated by robot, basically the number robot has in mind with the number you or a user give to the robot. So how do we do that? We just right click in the work area, in a blank spot on the work area, and there's an option, create a new box. There's a drop-down menu. It gives us some options, and we're going to select Python. Name of the box, I'll just say compare numbers. And description would be compare the number that the robot has in mind with the number offered by user. Okay. the system automatically gives us, two input. One is the on-start input, the other one is the on-stop input. On-stop meaning when the box stops. And it also have an output. Usually it's called, by default, it's on-stopped output. Here we need to change the input part a little bit, because if we mouse over the output of the random integer box, it says it's going to output a value, a parameter. The name is output underscore random value. And then the type is a number. So because it's an integer, it's a number. So we should click on the first input of the compare numbers and say edit input. And then here we can change the name to num, short for number. Its box behavior starts when a number is received on this input. And the type, we should change it to number, right? So it'll get a number. And then this box should do another thing, which is be able to accept the answer output of the choice box. And here we mouse over the answer output of a choice box, and it says the type is a string type. So let's just click on the second input of the compare numbers box. Again, we select edit input. Yeah, I'll just call it num string. By the way, string is a type in Python. A string type is basically text, plain text, and they're usually enclosed in double quotes or single quotes in Python. Right, so we change the type to string. We will ask it to go to onStart too. When it receives this, it'll go to onStart. We can connect the output of the choice box, the answer output, to the num string input of the compare numbers box. Next, let's double click into the compare numbers box, okay? So you will see it's defined as a class. Basically, this script defines a box as an object in Python language. It automatically generates two functions for the two input we generated there, right? One, we named it num. It'll accept a number. And the other one is num string, where it'll accept a text answer from the choice box. So when the box first started, I want to define a variable self.num equals to 0. 0 is a very safe thing here. Self.num1 as 0, self.num2 is 0, 2. I want to define this. So basically, it says when the box first initiated, it'll generate two variables, and their initial values are zeros. When the num input receives the number, it'll pass it in as a variable called p. So when that happens, I want to self.num1 become p. So it'll become the number the robot have in mind. By the way, Python is an object-oriented language, and in an object, you can pass variables among different methods if you define the variable starting with self.dot. That's like a signal. This is a variable that can be called upon in any of the methods in this object. And then same thing for the num string. When it first come in this case, it's not going to give us a number, right? The p here inside this function is actually text, right? If we want to compare the answer from choice and the number the robot already have in mind, we first need to change them into the same type. Now, because we are going to use, comparison, it's easier to just compare numbers. So we will first convert this text into a number. How do we do that? We're going to create a list called numbers. the numbers is basically a list. So the square brackets here define numbers to be a list. And this list will be a list of number words. So say if P is 1, then if I can get the index by doing numbers.index P. So if P is 1, then the index of P would be 0, right? So we can say self.num2 equals 2, but it's not 0, it's 1, so we will just plus 1. In this case, if P is 3, say, then the index of the P is 0, 1, 2, plus 1, that'll be 3. So we successfully convert a text to a number type here. Next, we are going to compare the numbers basically here, self.num1 and self.num2. So if self.num1 equals to self.num2, for now let's just say pass, because we have to change the output of the box as well. So here we can make a comment here saying to be done. This is yes, meaning the user wins. And here, to be done, this is no, right? If the two numbers are not equal to each other, then we should say no, the number is wrong. Alright, let's close off the script editor. You don't actually have to save anything. The software automatically saves it while you are typing. I like that in Choregraphe. Okay, now let's take a look at the output of the box. Right now we have one output, and the type is basically a band type. Basically, it's just a signal saying the box has stopped. It's not very useful. So we're going to again right click on the output, edit output. I'm just going to change it to yes. And I'll say signal sent when the numbers are equal. Okay, and then I have to add another output, right? Another output for no, right? So the type is 1, and then it's also going to stop. So we will say signal send when numbers are not equal. Alright, so for the yes, we will connect to the say win. For the no, we are going to connect to the say wrong answer. That's pretty obvious, right? So let's double click, enter script editor again. So here, the output are similar to the input. So when we define those, we automatically have the two generated. So we will just say when it's yes, and then we will just say self dot yes, and then when this is no, we just send the signal self dot no. They're both functions. Okay. So now let's test run the behavior. Go to the dialog view and then test run it. A good way to play the game is always start from the oops, that's wrong, and then maybe say 3. Wow, I guess I'm lucky. I win the game. That looks good to me, but it'll be nicer if when we give the robot a number, the robot can tell us, how it is wrong, whether the number is too big or too small. So that'll require us to change the code further and maybe change the output further. And I actually also want the robot to repeat the number. When I give it a 5, it should say, oops, 5 is too big. That'll make the robot seem smart. Let's further add it to the output. So before we just used it as a type band, but if I want to send out instead a sentence to it, I can change it to string. And then here, the second output, it says no, but I want to change it to big. So when the number from user is too big, and I also want to change it to a string type. And then of course I need to add another output, and this one would be small, and then there'll be a string, and it also stop the box, and then a sentence is sent when the number from user is too small. Oh, we need to add this output further. It's a sentence. This is the same thing. And we probably should change the say boxes. If you remember, say boxes are compiled of two boxes. One is the say local text box, and then another is the say box. So here, I probably should delete that. And let's go to the box library. Click on search tab and then say. So we only need the say text box. Okay? When it's small, it'll output a sentence saying 1 is too small, for example. And then it'll go to the counter. And here, let's add a box and change the name to say wrong. And in the case of say wing, we also only need delete the say box. We only need the say text box. Here, let's just say add a box. Say wing. Okay. And when it wins, it'll just end the game like before. Now we've added the output of the compare numbers, but we haven't changed the script yet. So let's double click the compare numbers box and then get in here. So when the two numbers equals to each other, we should actually output a sentence. I'll just have a variable named sentence. It'll say the string number is P, right? P. And then I'll plus a string is the right answer. Wow, you really read my mind. Okay, and then when it says yes, it'll output the sentence. Because the yes output is now a string type, it can accept a string. By the way, for string variables, you can always connect them with a plus sign. It's very easy. The else function, we should further divide it into whether the number user gave is too big or too small. So let's say else if self.num2 is bigger than the number robot have. This is big. Then we should also output a sentence. And in this case, we should say is too big. Give me a smaller number. When it says big, the big output function can also accept a string, a text string variable. Here it's a sentence. And the other case is when the user's number is smaller, right? There are only 3 cases with numbers. They equal to each other, or one is bigger, or one is smaller. So I can maybe just copy. And then it's my lazy way. Too small, give me a bigger number. And then, of course, here the output is small. Alright, that's it. Let's close off the script editor. And let's go to the dialog view and then test around the application. Alright, first guess, I'll say 5. 5 is too small, it says. Then the next one, I'll probably give 8. 8 is still too small. Wow. I'll say 9. 9 is the right answer. Wow. It says you really read my mind. So in today's tutorial, we introduced a few Python concepts to you. We didn't go into details, but if you are interested, I encourage you to go to the Python Software Foundation's website. That website has comprehensive Python documentation as well as an online Python editor. As a matter of fact, last year, the library got the grant from Python Software Foundation and we developed a series of tutorials for Robo Dojo Introduction to Python. I also want to leave a few things for you to think about if you have time. The first thing is try to expand the range of number for today's application and see how it goes. The second thing is try to improve the compare numbers box. And the last thing is try to make the robot tell you every time how many tries you have left. Alright, so that's it for today's tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will make this game even better. We will polish it a little bit so the robot will make some movements. Say if we win, it'll give us a dance maybe. I'll see you next time. Bye.